Most people believe wealth is measured by net worth. If your assets minus liabilities are high, you are wealthy. On paper, that sounds logical. In reality, it is dangerously misleading. Net worth is an accounting concept, not a lifestyle reality. You cannot pay bills, buy freedom, or survive crises with numbers on a spreadsheet. You do those things with liquidity. A paid-off house increases net worth, but it does not increase liquidity. In fact, it often destroys liquidity. Once money is locked into a primary residence, it becomes frozen capital. You cannot access it quickly, cheaply, or safely. To use that value, you must sell, refinance, downsize, or borrow, all of which come with cost, risk, and loss of control. Liquidity means money you can use when you need it. Cash. Investments you can sell instantly. Assets that generate income monthly. A house provides none of these. It is static. It does not move with you. It does not respond to emergencies. It does not adapt to opportunity. Imagine two people with the same net worth. The person A owns a $700,000 paid-off house and has $20,000 in savings. The person B rents and has $720,000 invested in liquid assets. On paper, they are equal. In real life, they are worlds apart. Person B can quit a job, survive a recession, fund a business, relocate, or retire early. Person A cannot even handle a prolonged medical emergency without selling or borrowing. That is the difference between appearance and power. A paid-off house feels safe because it removes a monthly payment, but safety without liquidity is fragile. Property taxes still come, insurance still comes, maintenance never stops, and those costs rise faster than inflation. True wealth reduces stress. It increases control. It creates options. A paid-off house often does the opposite. It traps people in a fixed position with fixed costs and limited flexibility. Wealth is not about what you own. It is about what you can access, deploy, and control. A house fails that test. KONPIDOF of Howard UC 0INCUM. Wealth is not about ownership. Wealth is about cash flow. Income is the lifeblood of financial freedom. If an asset does not pay you, it is not building wealth. It is consuming resources. A primary residence, even when fully paid off, does not produce income. It does not send checks. It does not compound. It simply exists. People celebrate paying off their mortgage as if they have reached financial independence. In reality, all they have done is remove one expense. They have not created income. They have not built a financial engine. They have only reduced monthly pressure. Compare this to income-producing assets, the dividend-paying stocks, businesses, the rental properties, the royalties, the bonds, the rights. These assets generate cash regardless of whether you work. A house you live in does not. Even worse, a paid-off house continues to consume money, the property taxes, the insurance, repairs, the renovations, for utilities, plus OA fees. The idea that a paid-off house is free to live in is a myth. You are simply shifting from a visible payment to invisible but permanent costs. In retirement, this becomes devastating. People reach 65 with no mortgage but also no income. Their largest asset produces nothing. Their savings are small. Inflation keeps rising. Healthcare costs explode. They are forced to downsize unwillingly, sell emotional homes, take reverse mortgages, or go back to work. A truly wealthy person does not rely on selling assets to live. They rely on income streams. A paid-off house is shelter, not income. Shelter does not retire you. Income does. KEPINT3 or OPRTY stiltas teacher SOSH Opportunity cost is the wealth you never build because your money is locked somewhere else. This is the silent killer of financial freedom. When you buy a house, you don't just spend money, you sacrifice future growth. Every dollar used for a down payment. Every dollar used for extra mortgage payments. Every dollar used for repairs and upgrades. All of it could have been compounding elsewhere. Compounding is not linear. It is exponential. Small differences early create massive gaps later. A house appreciates slowly, usually just above inflation. Meanwhile, productive assets historically compound much faster. Over 30 years, the difference between 4% and 10% is not minor, it is millions of dollars. Most homeowners do not realize they are trading growth for comfort during their most powerful wealth-building years. By the time the house is paid off, The compounding window is gone forever. This is why so many people reach old age with stability, but not freedom. They own something, but they miss the chance to build something that works for them. Opportunity cost does not appear on any statement. It never sends a bill, it never warns you, but it quietly determines your entire financial future. A paid-off house often represents decades of lost opportunity wealth that will never be recovered. KY Pine 4. Homeownership is deeply emotional. Pride, identity, stability, belonging, these are powerful human needs. But emotional value is not financial value. Equity feels productive. Watching your loan balance shrink creates psychological satisfaction. But equity is not income. It is not liquidity. It is not freedom. To use home equity, you must sell your home. Borrow against it, downsize, relocate. Each option involves loss of comfort, control, or security. Rent is often criticized as throwing money away. But rent buys flexibility. It caps risk. It preserves capital. It allows mobility. Ownership concentrates risk in one asset, one market, one location. If that market stagnates or declines, your wealth stagnates with it. People defend homeownership aggressively because admitting its inefficiency would mean questioning decades of decisions. This is post-purchase rationalization, not logic. Buying a home for emotional reasons is valid. Pretending it is a wealth-building strategy is not. The biggest lie in personal finance is that a paid-off house guarantees a comfortable retirement. In reality, many retirees with paid-off homes struggle more than renters with investments. Why? Because their wealth is trapped. Expenses do not disappear in retirement. They shift. Healthcare replaces commuting. Repairs replace mortgage payments. Inflation erodes fixed incomes. Without income-producing assets, retirees are forced to liquidate their lives to survive. Selling the home becomes inevitable, not optional. A paid-off house does not protect against longevity risk, inflation, or medical emergencies. Income does. Financial independence requires assets that pay you without shrinking. A house requires you to shrink your life to access its value. That is not security, that is delayed vulnerability. Wealth is the ability to choose. Choose where to live. Choose when to work. Choose how to respond to change. A house removes choices. It anchors you. It slows you. It ties your future to a single location and market. In a world that changes rapidly, rigidity is risk. The wealthy prioritize optionality. They want assets that move, scale, and adapt. A primary residence does none of these. A paid-off house may feel permanent, but permanence is not power. Freedom is power. And freedom comes from liquid, income-producing assets, not walls and roofs. Most people believe that once their house is paid off, they've made it. No mortgage, no landlord, no monthly payment, just security. But what if that belief is wrong? What if a paid-off house doesn't make you wealthy at all, and in many cases, actually prevents you from becoming wealthy? This isn't about hating home ownership. It's about understanding the difference between comfort and wealth. Because wealth is not about what you own. It's about what gives you freedom. And today we're going to break a very popular illusion using logic, math, and real-world behavior. By the end of this, you'll understand why millions of people retire with paid-off homes, yet still can't afford to stop working. Most people measure success using net worth, assets minus liabilities. On paper, a paid-off house looks incredible: no debt, large asset, clean balance sheet. But net worth is an accounting number. It does not pay bills. It does not solve emergencies. It does not give you options. Liquidity does. Liquidity is money you can use now. Cash, investments you can sell instantly, assets that generate income every month. A house does none of these. Once money goes into a house, it becomes trapped. To access it, you must sell, refinance, or borrow. Each option has consequences. Selling means uprooting your life. Refinancing means debt and interest. Borrowing means risk. Now imagine two people. One owns a 700,000 paid-off house and has the 22,000 in savings. The other rents and has 725,000 invested. Same net worth, completely different lives. One is calm, one is fragile. The homeowner looks wealthy. The investor is wealthy. Because when life happens, job loss, medical bills, opportunity, liquidity determines who survives comfortably. A paid-off house feels safe, but safety without liquidity is fragile. Real wealth moves, real wealth adapts. KEPT2 paid OFFF HAYOS dos not PAOU. Here is a simple rule. If an asset does not pay you, it is not building wealth. A primary residence produces zero income, zero. Even after the mortgage is gone, the house still costs money, property taxes, insurance, maintenance, repairs, utilities. The payment never disappears, it just changes form. Now compare that to income-producing assets, stocks that pay dividends, businesses that generate profit, rental properties, royalties. These assets send you money whether you work or not. A house you live in never sends you a check. This becomes painfully obvious in retirement. Millions of retirees own their homes outright, yet struggle every month. Why? Because they removed an expenser, but never replaced income. A paid-off house reduces pressure. It does not create freedom. Income crime, KPION 3 coast destro-wise margatlal chen debit. Opportunity cost is invisible, and that's why it's so dangerous. Every dollar put into a house is a dollar not invested elsewhere. Down payments, extra mortgage payments, renovations, repairs, all of it could have been compounding. Homes appreciate slowly, usually around inflation. Productive assets compound faster. The difference between 4% and 10% over 30 years is not small, it's millions. Most people use their most powerful wealth-building years, their 20s, 30s and 40s, to pay for a house instead of compounding capital. By the time the house is paid off, the opportunity window is gone forever. This is why so many people reach old age with stability, but no freedom. Opportunity cost never sends a bill, but it always collects. KPIN 4 EDQIN Fielgo Ode BUTUDGS are not retires. Homeownership feels productive. You see progress. You feel pride. You feel control. But feelings are not financial returns. Equity is not income. Equity is not liquidity. To use equity, you must sacrifice something. People say rent is throwing money away. But rent buys flexibility. Ownership concentrates risk in one location, one market, one asset. When markets stagnate, homeowners stagnate. People defend homeownership emotionally because admitting the truth would mean questioning decades of decisions. Buying a house for emotional reasons is fine. Calling it an investment is the mistake. A paid-off house does not protect you from inflation, healthcare costs, longevity risk. Retirees often discover too late that their wealth is trapped. They must downsize, sell, borrow. That's not independence. That's delayed exposure. Real retirement security comes from assets that pay you without shrinking. A house requires you to shrink your life to access its value. Wealth is not about owning things. It's about controlling your time. A house anchors you. Jobs become harder to change. Cities become harder to leave. Opportunities become harder to chase. The wealthy prioritize optionality. Assets that move, assets that scale, assets that adapt. A primary residence does none of these. A paid-off house may feel permanent, but permanence is not power. Flexibility is power. C.S.G. A paid-off house can give comfort. It can give pride. It can give stability. But it does not give wealth. Wealth is income. Wealth is liquidity. Wealth is freedom. If you buy a house knowing it's consumption, that's fine. Just don't confuse it with investing. Because the truth is simple. A house makes life comfortable. Investments make life free. And freedom, not ownership, is the real goal.